Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another eBay tips video. This is for all you gamers and collectors out there who are looking for those items and find yourself in a bidding war. Currently, actually in a little one. It's not really a war because we don't know each other's names. We don't know who's bidding, which is a thing eBay implemented a while ago. It used to be fun knowing who you were bidding against, because it actually helped you strategize a little better, but they sort of made that harder to do over the years. I'm currently bidding for a bunch of items from one seller who's over the course of the last week just been putting out all kinds of things that I'm actually interested in. Not going to go into what, because last thing I need is more competition, right? That's what this is all about. Right off the bat, when I'm buying something, I have a basic 50% rule. I do not pay more than 50% of what I think the item's worth. This is partially because I'm going to resell the item and I need to make that 50% back, or basically double my money. Also, in the old days when you would go to a used bookstore, the books were like half the price of the cover. So you go in and you see a $5.95, paperback book, it'd be $3. Cool. That's the way it should be. You can't buy a brand new car and drive it off the lot and drive it right back on and expect to get any better than that. Usually, I could be off on that. I don't buy cars, but it's basically the rule. The seller, or the reseller, I should say, the buyer, needs to be able to have that room to make some profit. Otherwise, it's pointless. And I'm not going to pay full price for anything. Mind you, even 50% with today's inflation is still kind of a lot of money. And when you're buying, like, for example, old miniatures that used to sell brand new for less than $1 a piece, and now they're going for 10, 20, $50, depending on the miniature and the condition and the packaging that you still have, that sort of thing. You're paying way more than 50%. But let's go into the next one, which is when I'm bidding. If I want an item, I'll do something that I call the multi-bidding bluff, and it may be underhanded, but I don't care. It's business, and I'm gonna win the item at 50%. I'm not going to go any higher, so it's not really a big deal, but it does often get me the win. What that is I'll bid the minimum bid, and then I will continue to make the minimum bid up until I get to that price, even though nobody else has bid on it. So they'll look at the item and they'll see like there's 8 bids on it, and they're like, oh crap, he's or she is willing to go higher than this by several increments. That means if they see the item and it's at 99 cents, but then they see like 4 or 5 bids on it, they're like, well, it's still at 99 cents. That means the guy who's bidding on it is put in some more bids just to make sure that if anybody else comes in to try to bid on it, they'll automatically get outbid, unless they go way beyond what I'm willing to pay. And at the 50%, if they're just a buyer or a collector or something, they're still going to get a good price. But sometimes it will scare people off, and you may think that's a little shady, but that's why I have such a big collection, because I've used and implemented all of these techniques with great success over the years. I've been doing this for 25 years, maybe more. Yeah, about 25 years, let's say. And I've racked up quite a nice collection, and I still have things for sale. I just had a sale last night, and the buyer actually used one of my techniques from a previous episode. It did not have a best offer on it. They came and said, hey, how about this much, which was $15 less than the going price. And I'm like, how about this, which gave them basically a $10 discount, and they're like, okay, cool. So we did a little haggling, and we met in the middle, and we're both happy. I'll be sending that off by the end of the week, and they'll be getting themselves a nice little item for their collection. Hopefully they'll use it at their gaming table, or maybe they'll just file it away and hang on to it until things get to the point where they can play it or paint it or whatever it is they want to do with it. Now, the next tip is visiting the seller and looking at their other items. You found an item you like, maybe you've bid on it, maybe you've won it. Well, go check out what else they have for sale, especially if it's a bidding thing where they're doing nothing but auctions. I did this, and I found an item that it's not really an item, it's a lot of smaller items, all kinds of weird things, and I'm like, I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and I want that. Yeah, I'll bid on it. And in doing this, you're going to find other things, but the goal is to have multiple items shipped to you for a lesser shipping price than you would pay for them individually. So you can, have them pack it all up together, so when you open it up, you're getting, this item and that item, and, they may not even be game related. They may be, a kitchen appliance or something for a different hobby or thing that you collect, or maybe it's a tool or item of clothing. You're like, oh, wow, I want that. You grab it, you get them combined shipping. It lowers the overall cost of the shipping because you divide it by the multiple items, and you never know what you're going to find. I do this all the time, and sometimes I find things that I don't want, but the price is so good that I'm just going to resell it, and come this fall. Which brings me to the combined shipping. Always ask for combined shipping, especially if you're getting more than one item. I had a seller recently ship me the item before I even paid, which totally negated my chance of getting the combined shipping. And I think they did that on purpose because they saw that I was bidding on multiple items, and they're going to try and ship them out so they can make that extra $1.25 on their inflated shipping price. Believe it or not, that's the way a lot of these people make part of their profit, is by hiking up the shipping price. Even if it's $1, it shouldn't be there. Whatever it costs to ship is what it should cost. If you have to go and buy an envelope or a box, you're a moron. If you're buying and selling on eBay and you get a book in the mail and it comes in an envelope, you save the envelope and you recycle it. Instead of charging some guy like me another $2 because you bought an envelope and put it in there, I don't care if it's got writing on it or whatever, just, scratch that out or mark it up so you can't see it, throw a sticker on it, cover it up, and boom, you did the environment a favor, you recycled something, you saved me a little bit of money. So make sure you ask the seller, to do the combined shipping thing, save both of you some time, effort, and money especially, and you'll get your item just as fast as normal, and sometimes even faster, because you can bump it up to priority without a big deal, especially if you use the flat rate priority boxes from the USPS. A box like this big that'll hold something like this in it is $9, and a box like this you can fit a couple of dozen miniatures, including bubble wrap and styrofoam packing peanuts, which is what I use to ship all my miniatures. I've never had a broken miniature arrive ever, broken through the mail because of that, and there's still plenty of room. Or you can get the bigger boxes that are like $20-something, and you can fit all kinds of books and things like that. It'll get there in 2 or 3 days. You get a tracking number, and the flat rate priority boxes from the USPS are treated with kid gloves, and they're going to get to you super fast, but they're always very, very careful with those boxes because they know the customer expects that at the bare minimum, but even more so because they're going with a USPS product. They'll ship you those boxes for free. I've got, my garage is full of pallets of flat rate shipping boxes. They'll ship to me, but they know I'm helping them, with their business, their advertising, etc. So they take a little bit better care of those boxes. One of the last things I want to cover is when you're bidding on things, you need to be there till the end of the auction. just in case at the last minute you're like, okay, I can go a little higher. You can bid at the last moment, the last minute or two, and prevent that regret when it comes when you get the email saying, oh, this item sold for $9.99, and you're like, I'd have paid $12. If I was there, I could have bid, but I didn't. I set my price. Be there just in case this, the spirit of the moment gets you, and you're like, you know what? Instead of waiting, for this item to come back, down the pike, and I'll see it again someday. Instead of having to wait that long, which God knows how long that'll be, you might be willing to bid a little bit more, and maybe win that item, for, like I said, a little bit more. But you're not waiting forever and hoping that someday you'll see that item again, because sometimes, it's not a one-of-a-kind item, but you may never get another opportunity. And last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about negative feedback. If you have any troubles along the way, the seller does anything that you don't like, the item's broken, etc., don't hesitate to use the negative feedback, because it teaches the seller the valuable lesson of do a better job, and it gives a warning to all potential customers that this guy doesn't really do his due diligence, doesn't really take care of your item. Now that you've paid for it, technically it's yours. They'll, just wrap it up in newspaper or like a brown paper bag and throw it in the mail. No, you got to do better than that. You got to throw some cardboard or some bubble wrap or a padded envelope if it's a book at bare minimum. Every time I get a book and it's just wrapped in brown paper, bag turned into a book cover with a stamp, no, not okay. It's not okay. And if they do something else, they short you an item, or the item arrives broken and they refuse to, accept the return, things like that, let us other buyers know that this seller cannot be trusted, or just doesn't take the care with what is now technically your property and in the shipping or handling of it and getting it to you, because you spent, probably, a minimum of an hour per item. When all is said and done, you've spent an hour of your life, paying for it, waiting for it, bidding on it, watching the item, going through their store. That's 10, 20, $50 of your money you could be spending elsewhere instead of following that auction or that item or the process of it getting there, checking your tracking numbers, seeing where it is, making sure you're home to receive it or somebody else is, or that your mailbox is empty so it'll fit and they don't just drop it on your porch. All that stuff is, it's your responsibility, but if you trust the seller, you can hack off some of that time knowing that you've dealt with them before, or other people have. They've given them lots of positive feedback, and the item's in good hands, barring some unforeseen circumstance that might come along, rain, sleet, or snow, or something like that can damage your product on the way, or all the little things that can go wrong. If you know that this seller is reputable, then you don't have to worry so much, and you'll be all the happier when it arrives in your hot little hands and you've got that item that you spent your time and money trying to acquire. Now it's yours. By all means, give them the positive feedback that they rightly deserve, or if they don't, maybe instead of just hitting the negative feedback button, you can try the old communication skills, let your fingers do the talking, and see if you can't get, the refund or the discount or something to make it up to you for whatever. Because just slamming the negative feedback button, could, burn down a bridge that you might later on, like, find out that they're selling more cool stuff, and then you've hit them with the negative feedback, and they're like, ha, I'm not doing business with you. They could block you right after that negative feedback, and they'll never hear from you again. They won't receive your emails. You won't be able to bid. You'll have to find somebody else to try to bid for you. You don't want to go through that. It's much better to open the lines of communication, see what you can't, work out between the two of you, because you never know. You may find out that this person is a seller with a lot of stuff that you are going to want to buy, and it would be a shame to constantly keep getting emails saying, oh, this item is for sale, but you can't buy it. So that's about all I've got to say about eBay and bidding wars today. If you're in one, pay attention to these little tips. They'll help you out a lot. And hopefully you'll be able to add those cool things to your gaming table or to your collection or to your garage, your toolbox, what have you, your wardrobe. You never know what's out there until you look. I hope you guys will all have a wonderful week. Love to hear from you in the chat. As always, we love you guys and happy trails.